Welcome back to Kidsplaining. I'm Peyton.
And I'm Jared.
And today we're going to teach you how to play BREW.
BREW is a mixture of dice rolling, area control, and worker placement, where players are competing to gather resources, collect forests, train creatures, and brew potions. If you aren't familiar with the area control and worker placement mechanics, we've covered both of those in our Board Game Basics series, and we'll leave links to those videos below.
The game includes forest cards, potions, creatures, the village board, characters, forage dice, element dice, and resource tokens. These 3 resources all match specific spaces, and these energy berries are wild.
To set up the game, put the village board in the middle of the table, then each player chooses their character and takes the dice matching their character's color, plus 2 of the white element dice. Next, take out the forest cards that match your player count at the bottom, then shuffle them into a face-down pile and put out 1 more face-up than you have players. So for 2 players, we're putting out 3 cards. Next, shuffle the potions and put out 4 face-up. Then put the creatures into 4 face-up piles sorted by season and put the resources where everyone can reach them. Then the person who brewed something last goes first.
Coffee or tea, not potions. During the game, you're going to be placing dice, collecting forests, training creatures, and brewing potions. All of these have points in this green box at the top of the card, and your goal is to have the most points at the end of the game.
Some cards give you extra points, and for those, you just take these green point tokens.
The game is played over a series of 4 rounds. Each new round, you will flip the village board from day to night or night to day. Make sure you have out the right number of forest cards, and then everyone rolls all 6 of their dice. Then, starting with the first player and going clockwise, players take turns placing 1 dice on a matching space on either the forest cards or the village board. So to put a dice here, it has to be a rock, and here it has to be a twig.
When you place a forage dice on a forest card, you take the resource shown. When you place a dice on this horn or tooth or whatever it is, you get to train a creature. And we'll talk about training creatures in a minute.
Element dice can be placed on any forest space, and when you do that, you get the resource shown and you perform the dice's special ability. The water dice gives you double the resources shown, so if you place it here, you could take 2 mushrooms instead of 1. With the wind dice, you can replace one of your already placed dice and bring that one back into your hand, and you also collect the resource. And for the fire dice, you can place it on top of another player's dice, and it cancels that dice out at the end of the round when you score the forest.
You can also place a matching element dice on one of these 3 spaces on the village board, and then you perform the action shown. And on the top 2 spaces of the village board, you can place any dice and get the reward shown.
Other than these 2 spaces, only 1 dice can go on any space, unless a potion or power specifically says differently, like the fire dice. And if there's already a dice on a space, it's blocked and you can't play there. But on these 2 spaces, there's no limit to how many dice can be placed there. And the day and night side have different options, but the layout is the same. 3 spaces for the element dice and 2 spaces at the top with no dice limit. So on your turn, you can do 3 things. You must place a dice, but you can also brew a potion and use a potion, but those 2 are optional. And you can do any of those 3 things in any order. So if you want to start your turn by using a potion, that's fine.
To brew a potion, pay the resources shown at the top of the card and take the potion. You can keep brewed potions hidden from other players, and to use it, you simply use the action on the card, then tuck it under your player card so you can score at the end of the game. And you score any potion you've brewed, whether you use it or not.
One of the abilities allows you to reveal and reserve a potion. To do this, you reveal the top card from the potion deck and choose to either take that card or one of the face-up potions and put it face-up in front of you. This potion isn't brewed yet. You still have to pay the required resources to brew it, but doing this keeps another player from taking it.
And lastly, let's talk about creatures. When you take a creature, you can either train it or release it. When you train it, you put it on the left side of your player card and you get to use its ability.
Some abilities give you points for certain things, and for those, you would just take a green token. And some creatures act as another space for you to use a dice during your turn, but you can only have 3 trained creatures at a time, and when you have more than 3, you have to release one.
When you release a creature, you put it to the right side of your player card. You can't use its ability anymore, but you still get points for it at the end of the game.
The round ends when everyone has placed all of their dice. At the end of the round, you award each forest to the player with the most dice on that forest. If it's a tie, then neither player gets it. And to win the forest, you have to have more dice there than element dice. So since this forest has one of my dice and 1 element dice, I wouldn't get the forest. And if nobody wins a forest, it gets discarded.
Once all the forests have been awarded, give everyone back their forage dice and 2 element dice. Flip the village board over, put out the next round of forest cards, and continue playing until the end of the 4th round. After the 4th round, it's time to score.
But before we get into that, there's a few special rules to go over. Some abilities let you scorch an empty forest space. When you do that, you put a scorch token on the space, and nobody can use that space for the rest of the round.
Some abilities let you stack dice, and only the top dice counts to controlling the forest.
And once element dice are placed, nobody owns them. They don't count towards scoring forests, and if a card ever lets someone remove a dice that's already been played, if it's a forage dice, it goes back to its owner. But if it's an element dice, it's removed from the game. It's just discarded for the rest of the round.
Sometimes you want to gain control of a forest, but you don't have the right dice for it.
If you don't have a forage dice that matches the space you want to go to, you can force a die into a space it doesn't match by spending the resource on the space, not gaining it.
When you do this, you don't collect the resource shown or turn a creature.
Forcing dice is only helpful for gaining control of a forest.
Now let's talk about scoring.
There's a couple special things about scoring. If you match your least creature with a forest you have, so this winter creature with this winter forest, you flip the creature over and it counts as 3 points instead of 1. The 2 types of forest can be matched with either kind of creature, but each forest can only have 1 creature.
And you can release your creatures at any time, even after the last round. When you're scoring, you can release your creatures into their matching forests.
So after the 4th round, match up all your creatures with the forest you've won, count up all your creature points, forest points, potion points, and point tokens, and the player with the highest score wins. Once you've played a few games, you may want to try playing with character powers. Each character has a special power on the other side of the card that lets them take special actions or break the rules of the game. To play with character powers, play with that side face up, and unless it says otherwise, your character powers can be used any number of times each round.
And that's BREW. If you have any questions or if you have a game you want us to teach, leave us a comment. And thanks for watching.
And be sure to subscribe right here.
And watch our other videos over here.
See you later.
Bye!